Namaskar, welcome to Honest Astrologer, and today we have a very interesting topic. It is generational wars. What is the generational karma? How it impacts parenting, and what's the way ahead? A must watch for parents, especially parents with young children. So I have a full panel of experts with me. So first we have Rahul Zaveri from rahulzaveri.com. He is one of the renowned and capable people in the field of child psychology analysis, education analysis, and career mapping. So Rahulji, please give us a quick introduction about yourself, what you do, and how can people reach out to you.
Uh, Thank you so much, sir, for having me here. Really an honor to be a part of this panel and discuss particularly about Gen Z, the generation which I am looking at. I do career counseling, leadership coaching, mastering English skills, and personal mentoring for students in the age group of 10 to 19 years. Uh, Doing that for the last 20 years in a slightly senior age group, and now bringing it down to this age group where I believe a lot of interesting interventions can help them become much better from a very young age. Uh, Professionally, I'm an educationist since the last 20 years. Thank you, sir, for having me here. It's been an honor to be a part of this esteemed panel. Stalwarts from different domains here, and frankly, I'm just an educationist with 20 years of experience in the space to predominantly help students achieve their true potential. Uh, Currently, since the last 3 years, started my own small outfit, thanks to sir's input and intervention on a regular basis also, where I am doing leadership coaching, career counseling, personal mentoring, and mastering English skills for the age group of 10 to 19 years. Have students from across 6 countries now and 25 cities from India and abroad. Small cohorts, personal attention, and my own small way trying to make a difference to this generation. It's a very interesting generation.
And let me tell you, he's very good at what he does. So if anybody wants to take his services for career counseling, English, whatever, highly recommended from my side. So next on the panel, we have Professor Sujata. So Sujata ji, if you could quickly introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, sir, for inviting me on this esteemed panel. Um, I really can't believe my luck. I always have considered you my guru and my life coach. And ever since I have talked to you, I feel I have seen my life path very clearly, the past also, and the present, and also the future. Now, coming to this particular Zoom event that we are having, my experience has been very tough as a teenager myself, and I used to always feel I'm born in the wrong generation. And now that I have children of Gen Z, and I even have students, I have MD, PhD students, BSc, MSc. I feel I'm more in touch with these kind of this generation, and I also see a lot of positive aspects of them, and that's what I want to talk about in on this panel. So thanks once again, and looking forward to listening to everybody's views.
Thank you. Tushar, give us a short intro. So Tushar has worked in clinical psychology. He has worked with children. He has worked with addiction issues, and he is the youngest on the panel. So he is the chain that connects us with the youth. So welcome, Tushar. Just give a short introduction.
First of all, all these are very heavy terms, clinical psychologist, blah, 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 ये सब चलता रहता है. But why does a person tune into emotions? Why does a person into it? Because nobody really paid heed to them when they were growing up. So I grew up as inevitably as a psychologist in my own family. I had to become one because nobody had a clue. They were throwing barbs at each other and nobody had a clue. So my experience primarily of becoming a professional in the field of clinical psychology has been driven by the experience I had with my own family. And then I went on to understanding what addiction was and how homeless children felt, because I worked with homeless children, and so on and so forth. I've worked with many clients, and through astrology, I've been able to make a deeper view of what toxic family is, where does it arise? Uh, this is pretty much it. Yeah, I'll keep it short right now.
Great to have you. Uh, Vishal, my dear friend, and Vishal is one of the best parents I've known in my life. So, Vishal, you
So yeah, I hope my daughter hears this.
can.
Because so thanks a lot. Thank you very much for having me. So Vijay sir and I, let me say that in this life and we're associated since more than 5 years, but I think we've been associated in many more lives earlier. So so we feel as if we are brothers from the same from different mothers. And I myself, I have been an IT professional, but I wouldn't call that as my passion. I'm more passionate about working with young minds, especially working with children in the grades 8th to 12th. I personally feel that somehow grade 8th to 12th is a critical period when, if you are able to prepare that foundation for them at that age, that foundation goes a long way. So that's my area of interest. I also use astrology. This entire group is threaded by one single thing. I also use astrology for understanding and analysis and research. Most importantly, I have a lot of learnings from my own father. I would say, Vijayji called me that, but I would say that one of the best people as a parent who I have seen is my father, of how he changed things with age with me. And I learned a lot from him. And that's what I'll be sharing today of real experience of how things are with my daughter today. She's 11 years old. So I'll try to share real life experiences which happen every day. Hope that helps the group and the panel.
Absolutely. Thank you, buddy. Samantha ji.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Vijay sir, for having me over in this panel. Professionally, I am in IT as well, like Vishal sir. My area of interest mostly is around us as providers, as parents. Children obviously are at the receiving end of what we provide. My main focus is, hey, how can we be mentally well, so that we lay the right foundation in terms of an environment, both emotionally and otherwise, for the children. Of course, every day I try, every day I feel I'm not succeeding very well, but let's see.
So, welcome everybody. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you all as friends and co-panelists. And this is the first time we have gotten together, but I'm sure this is not the last time. By the end of this, we will learn a lot, I'm very sure. So, Rahul ji, can we start with the PPT?
Yeah.
So, this one, the theme is generational wars, generational karma, clashes, and the way ahead. We are going to analyze what is wrong with the entire system and what is the generational karma and how it has traumatized the generations and what we can do about it so that at least we as parents do not pass on that trauma. So I have not done the US wala thing that 97 and beyond is Gen Z for me. I have taken it in terms of decades. 50s, 60s is a different generation. 70s, 80s is a different generation, and 90s and beyond is a different generation. We have clubbed them as Gen Z because I see generational karma changing with these decades. Okay. So let's start with the 50s and 60s ka generation. I call this the Sarkar and Samaj generation. But we have to understand them, empathize with them, and maybe forgive their errors. The problem is when they were growing up, India was a absolute third world country with a lot of problems. So their parents, they belong to the pre-independence era, so hardly any resources, hardly any education. When they were growing up, it was more or less a communist kind of an India where there were either government jobs or no jobs. There was a 90% income tax rates. All the rich people were evil Teja Seth types, and the only good people were government employees or the union leaders. Today we know how things have changed, and thank God for it. The problem with this generation, one, they can be dominating and paranoid because they come from a point where there was hardly any resources. So there is a sense of paranoia. and they grew up in a manner where they were able to dominate their parents as well as their children. They are obsessed with two things. One is society, other is government. I often joke कि इंडिया में शादी में दूल्हा important नहीं होता, बारात important होता है. Generation was all about कि साहब समाज क्या कहेगा, लोग क्या कहेंगे, चार लोगों में हमारी नाक कटा दे टाइप्स. दूसरी चीज, इनके लिए a corporate vice president is nothing in front of a सरकारी peon. That's the mindset. Government is God. So they are very slavish towards government and society, but very dominating when it comes to their own families. And they make very tough and bossy parents कि हम बोल रहे हैं इसलिए करना है. And typical careers where they have been pushing their children are doctors, engineers, and government job, preferably IAS. Then one big problem this generation has is a Bhagwan ka Roop complex. You know, all the movies, Bollywood is not that old, it's like 70 years old. These were the guys who created those movies. कि साहब वो माँ का आशीर्वाद लेकर के हीरो तरक्की कर देता है और माँ बाप को घर से निकाल देते हैं और बच्चे बहुत खराब होते हैं. That's the theory which was thrown out. And this is the biggest source code of the Desi Matrix कि माँ बाप भगवान का रूप है. बच्चे इसलिए पैदा होते हैं कि हमारे सपने साकार करें. That's the problem with this generation. So when somebody like me goes and tells them कि भाई ऐसा नहीं है, I think they are too old to change their ways. I do find at times some very nice seniors who are able to understand and appreciate, but these are the guys who refuse to follow this script. But most of the people are so set in their minds, they are 60, 70 years old, they don't want to take any feedback. Now we'll talk about 1970 to 1990 born. So, this is what I call the Zabak generation. Okay, ZABAK, Zameen Banjar Aulad Kanjar generation. Because so these guys had all the right things for them when it came to their careers. So when we were growing up, you know, liberalization came. Bless P.V. Narasimha Rao Saab's soul. That is when money started to flow in. That is when private jobs, banking, finance, everything happened. Then IT revolution came in the late 90s. We saw computers and we fell in love with them. And today India rules and Indians rule the computer world. Then came the internet. We absolutely nailed it. Then came the mobile telephony. We are just riding that wave. So these were the people who have an achiever's mindset. They come from a point where there wasn't a lot when they were growing up. Most of us, barring Tushar, I think all of us grew up in the time when there was one scooter per house, one car in the mohalla, and maybe one AC in 5 houses. But by the time the next generation come, we worked our guts off to ensure every room has a AC and every house has a car. The problem is we sold our souls to our employers. Work is worship, duty is God. ये हम लोग लेकर के चले. And you know, now when these people come to me, many of them are disillusioned with their jobs. कि यार मेरा life कहाँ गया? What have I done with it? So they burned up their personal lives to achieve success, so-called, but at what cost? Most of us have BP, diabetes, this, that, some sort of a problem. And this is the generation going through the midlife. Parents were very demanding. हमारे टाइम में अगर आप बोलो कि साहब डिप्रेशन हो रहा तो घर वाले पकड़ के पीटते थे. अरे तू पागल हो गया, हो सकता है कोई झाड़ा वाड़ा भी लगाने ले जाए. झाड़ा लगाए ना लगाए, झाड़ू तो लगाई देंगे. So, we grew up under that difficult environment. But yes, the toughness it gave helped us in doing well. The problem is by the time we realized कि हमने लाइफ में कुछ किया, हमारे पेरेंट्स भगवान का रूप मोड में पूरा आ चुके थे, and there was very little which we could do without them. And you know, then this bloody movie बागबान came और वो उसने सबको विक्टिम कार्ड पकड़ा दिया. And वो सारे बुजुर्ग हमारे जो है वो देख करके रो रहे हैं कि ये बच्चे ऐसे नालायक हैं, माँ बाप को भूखा मार देंगे, जमीनें ले जाएंगे. And it ruined an entire nation. I go back and say कि बुजुर्गों रील मत देखो, रियल देखो. In real life, Amitabh Bachchan is working at the age of 87 to ensure that his son has enough money. उनके पास में अपने लिए बहुत है, इज वर्किंग फॉर हिज सन. उस आदमी की रियल लाइफ से कुछ सीखो भाई. आपने मूवी देख करके स्यापा डाला वो घरों में रो रो करके, and you refuse to part with your savings and give anything to your children when they need it the most. Do not do it. It will come back to haunt you. Anyways, अब प्रॉब्लम क्या हुआ, जो 70s 80s वाला जनरेशन था, दे ऑल डिसाइडेड कि मेरे साथ में ऐसा हुआ, मैं अपने बच्चों के साथ ऐसा नहीं होने दूंगा. And we gave everything that we could have to our children, but we sort of ended up raising a narcissistic and confused chui mui generation. So we submitted to the parents' demands, we submitted to the children's demands, and both sides are unhappy with us, and we don't know what the hell happened. But I think our children, we can still redeem them. 1990s and beyond. So this is your Gen Z wala crowd. I wouldn't include Gen Alpha. The question is, are they privileged or entitled? I think need hierarchy theory में ये लोग, they have grown up. For us, it was कि boss अगर तनख्वाह नहीं आई तो खाना नहीं मिलेगा. These guys know कि I can sit at home, chill out, and my daddy will pay for my AC का bill and my internet का bill, maybe buy me an iPhone on a Diwali. So they know my papa is doing well. इन पे हमारे वाला pressure नहीं है. Why they are not so serious about their jobs? Because one, they have seen us complaining. You know, we would always come and look forward to the weekend and we would say, अरे ये इतना problem है office में and all. So they are like कि नहीं यार ये इनका formula खराब है, टेक्निक ही गलत है, तो हमारी जॉब से नहीं होगा. So they are running away from regular jobs. So far so good. The problem which I have is this generation is ये delusional हो गए हैं थोड़ा सा Instagram और YouTube देख देख के. Half the crowd comes to me कि साहब मुझे मूवी स्टार बनना है, मुझे फैशन में जाना है या मुझे स्पोर्ट्स में जाना है. And I think Rahul ji can explain more about it. And these are black holes. Virtually 99.999% लोगों का कुछ नहीं होता इसमें. I've seen that. उसके बाद में these guys get so much entertainment कि they can sit at home, do nothing and be happy about it. So at times they take the solid escape route कि साहब I will prepare for UPSC, कुछ नहीं करते, जाके मस्ती करते 4-5 साल, and then they will come back. Otherwise, one other way which they have chosen to cop out is foreign education. माँ बाप को डाल दो 1 करोड़ के नीचे, let's go to Canada or the US or whatever, enjoy life. फिर आके बोलो साहब वहाँ पे रेसिज्म है, मेरा जॉब नहीं लग रहा, और क्योंकि मैं फॉरेन एजुकेटेड हूँ तो इंडिया में जॉब करूंगा नहीं. अब बाप की सवारी. That is a very dangerous trend which I see. So their attention span is much smaller, but these guys are much more smarter, and this generation is much more spiritual and honest. If I give a feedback to a 65-year-old, they get very offended. The youth listens. This is what I like about these bachas. They are perfectly capable of questioning their long-held beliefs. They are perfectly capable of accepting when you tell them the truth with the logic and the proof, they will listen to you. The elders wouldn't do that. And I think this generation has a lot of resources, lot of opportunities, but there is also that threat of drowning in entertainment and wasting their life. So Sujata ji, you have dealt with the new generation and you know them very well. We would want you to take some time and tell us what's right with them, because you know this is a घिसा पिटा thing for every generation कि साहब हमारा generation बहुत महान था, next generation is नालायक. But I think people like you and I should come out and say this generation is better than we were. So please, over to you.
Thank you, sir. So what's right with the new generation? What, of course, the first thing, as you have also pointed out, that they have a digital fluency. They are very familiar with the technology, and they have a lot of resources at their fingertips. They have been born in an era in which technology was something which could just bring all kinds of information to them at their fingertips, and they are very, very comfortable with that. So that becomes an advantage for education, job market. And then they know very well that advertising is a must. In our generation, advertising or pushing yourself was looked upon as something to be embarrassed about. Even when I have to, if I write a book and I want to promote that book, I feel embarrassed. And why should I feel embarrassed? If I know I've got a good product or a product that somebody should read, then I should push it. But I feel embarrassed because I belong to the previous generation. But the generation that is the today's generation is not embarrassed about pushing. Secondly, cultural diversity and global perspective. They have grown up in an era when global connectivity is the norm. So they understand, they appreciate, they empathize with all kinds of cultural differences. There are no boundaries with this generation. They do not believe in that much in casteism or religionism, or even where your national boundaries are, international boundaries are. There is a lot of inclusivity and acceptance. Then, of course, the entrepreneurial mindset, which is something that this generation has shown. Like you had said, that we always wanted the security of government jobs, or if not government, then some job that can provide some, because we are a frightened generation. We have been brought up in fear. Our parents, our teachers, the entire system has taught us to fear. Kal kya hoga? What is going to happen tomorrow? Ya parson kya hoga? Yeah, that kind of thing. And also not to save up for ourselves, but to save up for 10 generations in front of us. This generation is not like that. They are willing to take risks. They are willing to take their chances. And that completely, broadens and widens their horizons. So they are going to seize opportunities, embrace innovation, which is absolutely a must if we have to look in terms of global economy. And of course, finally, what I felt I must press upon is that they have a very, very strong sense of social responsibility. I see within the institute that I work, and when I talk to my children who are now 23, 24, so they are Gen Z only, that they are willing to accept all kinds of genders. There is, in our generation, it used to be like only male, females, anything else. There would be some kind of jokes, or there would be some kind of shaming. But this generation is all about accepting all kinds of realities, and to make them feel like everybody is same. And that is so important. And of course, there are big, very, very relevant, significant things like climate change. I don't think our generation or the generation previous to that, even when we knew that environment is important, nobody cared. And if nobody is looking, we'll just litter things around, or we will not care about our carbon footprints. But this generation is always making a noise about climate change. And they are using, like I said, they have digital fluency. So they're using digital platforms to spread awareness about these kind of social causes. And of course, a very, very important thing is mental health. Like you mentioned, sir, that earlier we used to just think कि किसी ने बोला मैं डिप्रेस्ड हूँ, तो जाके काम कर लो, तुम भूल जाओगे कि तुम डिप्रेस्ड हो. या फिर शायद काम नहीं कर रहे हो या पढ़ाई नहीं कर रहे हो, that's why you're depressed. What do you mean by depression? सब कुछ तो मिल रहा है तुमको. You're getting everything. In fact, I know so many Gen Z people who tell me that their parents say, डिप्रेशन हो कैसे सकता है जब तुमको सब कुछ मिल रहा है. और शायद इसीलिए डिप्रेशन हो रहा है, because you have everything with you. This is the logic people are having, which is absolutely not right. You can be depressed even when you have everything, so-called everything. Though I don't know how people define everything. They feel that if you have AC running, if you have a maid servant, if you have food in your fridge, you have everything. But that's not it. A human, an intelligent human being, definitely needs much more in terms of his academic, his intellectual stimulation, his emotional connectivity. And it is not just what used to work for the previous generation, means everything. So this generation is all about spreading awareness of mental health, not shaming themselves or each other if mental health issues crop up. And also, again, using digital fluency for this. So these are my few points that I wanted to put in chalk. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Now one good hard look at bad parenting. So Samantha, this will take us through some things which she has noticed what constitutes bad parenting and why it's so important to break the curse with the millennial generation right now so that Gen Z and Gen Alpha are raised correctly. Samantha ji, over to you.
Yep. Thank you, thank you, Vijay ji. Thank you, everybody, for this opportunity. So I am here to talk not from an angle of blame or not from an angle of complaining. I am here to whatever I have put together has come from deep introspection myself as a parent and what I have observed, not only in my close circles, but also across the board. This is after many years of observation from friends that I have seen across, especially in my generation, which is the 80s. And this is coming from that, the 80s as well as the 50s and 60s. So this is a pattern that I have observed. So again, this is not to be taken with an angle of blaming. Nobody is a bad parent. Nobody does this intentionally. But this is something to call for introspection on what you are doing. And this is more from an angle of self. So first things first, very different times, very different circumstances. For us, everything was in concrete. We lived in the universe. Now, all of us have parallel lives in some way. We are on Instagram. We are on Metaverse. God knows what more is going to come next, right? Moon, Mars, Jupiter's moon, who knows, right? So, which means we have dealing with a very different set of complexities, illusions, delusions, ourselves, for our kids. So like I would go back to what Vijay sir said, right? There is more real than real. And I feel like it is time to really take that into factoring as we are parenting. Childhood trauma, again, I have rarely come across people who have said, oh, I have not had any childhood trauma, especially in my some form or the other. If not very early, it is a bit later, or they even see it when they are in their 30s or 40s. One of the things I read as I was doing a bit of a research is a lot of the child's mental blueprint is formed in the first 7 years. Wiring is done in some way. So what you lay and what you do, you think, oh, the bacha, they don't understand. They absorb every single thing. And when I look back at what my friends are saying and what I have noticed, I feel there's a lot of things go so deep back to what they have seen in their first 7 years. Lot of impressions, lot of attitude, lot of aptitude, fears, tribulations, everything. I feel goes way back when you are a child. I think with all of that being said, right, the first 7 years also are not the easiest. New parenting, multiple kids. It's also one of the most toughest times of your life, financially, emotionally, everything. So it's very important to focus on mental health for us as providers first, because if we are not sound mentally, we are not going to be able to provide. And we are the generation, like Vijay sir said, is naukri, duty, job, and all of those stresses along. I somehow feel we are also the sandwich generation because we're dealing with parents born in the 50s and 60s. And then you have kids born in the 90s and 2000. I mean, we are in a pretty hard place ourselves.
Zameen Banjar, Aulad Kanjar.
Sorry.
Yes. Punjab, we have
Yes, absolutely. It's time to introspect and make sure that our stresses and our things don't go outside a lot of us who are working remotely, thanks to COVID, for those who are going from home or who are working in the office place, stresses and everything needs to be left there in its boundaries. And I think for us, our boundaries are getting very blurred, very, very blurred. Stresses do come into, it's hard to say, you know what, office ka kaam, leave it there, get out. No, we are always on the phone, we are on emails, work doesn't stop with 9 to 5. And that's the problem. That's a root cause of one of the root causes of problems that I am seeing, right? Like Vijay sir said, it is, we grew, we got success, but at what cost? And I think that tallying is very important, to really look back and smell the roses and stop and see at what is the cost that we are paying everywhere, right? And the cost is not in monetary, it is in small, simple pleasures of life. like missing your daughter's first recital. I mean, I'm calling recital, but it can be anything, right? Missing something that means a lot to your child, but hey, you're not there. Kyun? Oh, there is a meeting. Oh, there is something. You will not even remember that. Or, if you're not working in India where you do not have holidays for important festivals, right? What will remain? You will remember that you missed the Diwali. You will not remain the job or the reason why you missed the Diwali. Again, right? Everybody is extremely career focused, career pivoted. I wouldn't say don't do that, but somewhere there is the want and the need, and it's really important to focus on the needs rather than the wants. And some things, small things, are more important in life than others, and it's always a balance, and it's very difficult to strike that balance. But if you introspect, you can absolutely manage it. I really want to also call out bad parenting and the effect of it, as what I have been observing. It can lead to issues generation after generation. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. That DNA, somehow I have seen a repetitive pattern. I am not an expert astrologer. I have no clue of this. Somehow there is a pattern, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this show up chart after chart after chart. I would love for Vijay sir and the experts here who know astrology to vouch upon this. I feel there is something deep coded in the DNA that gets from generation to generation. There is a cyclical pattern over here. And we all know bad parenting, like I said, for 7 years, they only look up to you. So bad influence, issues in confidence, fear, tribulations. It can cause depression. I see late outbursts coming in, right? Like late realizations, late feeling of being abandoned. And what does this lead to? Abandoning the parents. Like, forget parents going into Bhagwan mode, kids go into Bhagwan mode. And it there is something deep rooted. And I want to go back to what Tushar sir said, and what people are saying. It can be some childhood trauma in some way that shows up, maybe not then, but it will show up later, because imprints are formed in the first 7 years. I would really call upon to say the onus is on us. We can break this. We are aware. We have platforms like this. We have people like Vijay sir and rest of the panelists who are out here, who are bringing the angle of astrology. I mean, or whoever are believers, again, right? We can break the curse. After all, we are the sun and moon for our children. People who know astrology will exactly know what I'm talking about.
Excellent, excellent. Very heartfelt, very passionate. I could just feel that thing in your voice and could relate to your pain. We'll discuss that. Thank you. Next slide.
Thank you, sir.
Tushar, your slide, parenting done bad. And I'm happy that none of us is talking about it, because our generation was uniformly screwed. You pick up anybody and there are skeletons in the closet. हम लोग बहुत सताया हुआ generation है. But what are the things that are still going on in your generation? So I to have a laundry list. I talk to people daily, but it would be great to hear from your perspective. So over to you.
Thank you. First of all, great summary. I mean, I heard Samantha speak, and I heard you speak. आपका तो scene ही अलग होता है. The way you you make things very accessible and incredibly accessible. It's very simple, effortless, and समझ में आ जाता है, to the point, and it sticks with you. And what more can I add? All of you are elders, but I don't want to get into that respecting the elders things, because that nonsense has already led us here.
यही नहीं करना तुषार. This has to stop.
It's not in my. It's not. It's not in my bones. I cannot. I am by instinct. By instinct, I'm one of the most. I don't know how my parents have handled me. One of the most rebellious brats ever available.
Brats are rarely born. There are some people who are born brats. Children rebel. Some reason to. And you are one of the rebels. So.
I think they should
Yes. Because how else do you assert your identity? How else do you assert yourself? You have been constantly contaminated by ideas of morality, by ideas of right and wrong, and success and ambition, and all of these things. And you have scriptures thrown into the picture. Then you have your schooling system, which is based mostly on British schooling system. The entire social society, right from when you listen to your first word, तब तक वो आपसे ना शब्दों के थ्रू नहीं मीट कर रहा है. दे आर नॉट मीटिंग यू. अब तो प्रेजेंटेशन भी ऑफ द चार्ट चलेगी. मैं एकदम इम्प्रॉम्प्टू बात कर रहा हूँ. So psychologists have defined this as the pre-verbal stage, especially till the age of probably 2.5, when they're not started to learn and learn grammar as such. एक तो पहले we throw them into the play schools right off the bat. We are not even allow them to gradually move into the curriculum. वो कॉर्पोरेट फैक्ट्री में 3-3.5 साल के बाद वो प्ले स्कूल के नाम पे 2-2.5-3 हजार रुपए की महीने की जो भी फीस, तो ये पूरा सिस्टम ही एनस्लेव कर रहा है. The parents think it is woke and it is, it would give them some kind of social capital to put them in a certain kind of French school or international school or this or that. But what the child, before he has learned grammar or language, wants is your being. I can for hours emphasize on your being. It does not come from how much you know, how much salary you're drawing from your whatever resources. It comes from your presence. एक जाहिल इंसान भी प्रेजेंट हो सकता है और एक पढ़ा लिखा इंसान कंप्लीटली एब्सेंट हो सकता है. तो मेरा एम्फोसिस आज की डेट में किसी भी तरीके की लेबलिंग पे नहीं है. मैं खुद क्लिनिकल साइकोलॉजी की फील्ड से रहा. मैं साइकेट्रिस्ट. Many often, मतलब by nature, young boys have more anxiety because it is meant to be sublimated through their mass. It is meant to be sublimated through their sports. थोड़े बहुत चांटे चलते हैं, it's okay, it's all right. But for इसलिए I'm going on a मतलब thing against these. ये क्या हो गया है, ऑफ लेट मेंटल हेल्थ के नाम पे एक पूरी इंडस्ट्री तैयार हो गई है. एक पूरी इंडस्ट्री तैयार हो गई है जहां सबको लगता है कि वो तरह तरह की ये इसको ISM बोलते हैं, DSM बोलते हैं, इससे 4-5 शब्द लेके हम सबको एक एक तमगा दे देंगे. इसकी कोई जरूरत नहीं है. हमें एक दूसरे के साथ सिर्फ प्रेजेंस की जरूरत है. और प्रेजेंस किसी चीज की दरकार नहीं होती. उसको मोबाइल फोन की जरूरत नहीं है, उसको सहूलियत की जरूरत नहीं है. उसको मौजूदगी कहते हैं. उसको आपका वजूद कहते हैं, जो आप और मैं प्रेजेंट हो सकते हैं, बजाय इसके कि क्या है. तो ये डेफिशिएंसी मार्केट क्रिएट कर रहा है, जिसको मैट्रिक्स के सर ने नाम दिया. ये मैट्रिक्स क्रिएट कर रहा है आपके अंदर सेंस ऑफ डेफिशिएंसी, दैट यू हैव टू पुट देम इन अ सर्टेन काइंड ऑफ स्कूल, दैट यू हैव टू टीच देम लैंग्वेज एट द एज ऑफ 7, दैट यू हैव टू टीच देम पियानो एंड व्हाटएवर XYZ. तो सबसे पहले आई एम नॉट हियर टू लेक्चर पीपल ऑन पेरेंटिंग, क्योंकि मेरा बच्चा खुद ही भी बहुत छोटा है. ठीक है, आपके बच्चे मुझसे बड़े हैं, मतलब मेरी उम्र के भी हो सकते हैं. तो आई एम नॉट हियर टू टेल यू कि व्हाट पेरेंटिंग इज. हाँ, मैं ये जरूर कह सकता हूँ कि कहाँ पे वो सिस्टम जब परपेचुएट होने लग जाता है, तो वो ये नहीं देख पाता है कि कहाँ पे वो रट में फंस गया. एक सिस्टम जब रट में फंस जाता है तो वो इंडिविजुअल आइडेंटिटी के लिए एंटीथेटिकल हो जाता है. वो प्रिवेंट करता है कि कोई भी इंडिविजुअल ऑटोनॉमस हो जाए, सेल्फ ड्रिवन हो जाए, अपनी आत्मा से चले. ठीक है, सबसे पहले सर ने सिस्टम पे अटैक किया, मैं उस पर और अटैक नहीं करूंगा. लेकिन मसला ये नहीं है कि सिस्टम खराब है या इंडिविजुअल में प्रॉब्लम है. हम इसी डायकोटमी में फंस जाएंगे. या तो हम सिस्टम को गाली दे रहे होंगे, या फिर इंडियन सिस्टम की तरह हम इंडिविजुअल के ऊपर डाल रहे होंगे कि ये तो पगली है, या इसको डिप्रेशन है, या ये तो झक्की है, या ये तो गांजा करता है, या ये तो दारू पीता है, या ये तो ऑल द टाइम द सिस्टम इज ट्राइंग टू पैथोलॉजाइज, टू क्रिएट अ प्रॉब्लम आउट ऑफ समवन. एक फैमिली के अंदर एक बंदे को उन्होंने प्रोजेक्ट करना ही है कि इसकी वजह से प्रॉब्लम है, इस लड़के की वजह से प्रॉब्लम है, छोटे वाले की वजह से बड़े वाले की वजह से प्रॉब्लम है. अब क्या करता है वो, एक हम स्केपगोट ढूंढने लग जाते हैं. ये नहीं करना है. इंडिविजुअल ही सिस्टम है, सिस्टम ही इंडिविजुअल है. हमें दोनों एक दूसरे के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं. तो सबसे पहले मैं यही कहना चाहूंगा कि बाहर के बंदों से ना एक्सपर्टीज लेने नहीं जाइए. मुझे एक्सपर्ट शब्द ही नहीं पसंद है. इस एक्सपर्ट शब्द के नाम पे इतनी वायलेंस हो चुकी है जितनी किसी चीज पे नहीं होती. वो नहीं बताएगा कि तुम्हारे घर में क्या सिचुएशन है. तुम्हें ज्यादा पता है कि किस मुश्किल से निकले. अब भाई पापा की सैटर्न की दशा चल रही है, तो साइकेट्रिस्ट को नहीं पता है कि उसकी दिक्कत हो रखी है, सैटर्न सेकंड हाउस में बैठा हुआ है, तो पैसे की प्रॉब्लम है या किसी चीज की प्रॉब्लम है. तो वी गाइस नो व्हाट वी नीड टू क्रिएट विद इन आवरसेल्व्स इज मोर सेल्फ अवेयरनेस. बाहर से जाके आप कंसल्ट कर सकते हो, लेकिन आपका सेल्फ अवेयर होना बहुत जरूरी है. नहीं तो फिर वही होगा, वो तुमको बुलाएगा, तुमको 1 घंटे तक बातें बताएगा, उसके बाद तुमको दवा लिख देगा. डोंट गेट इनटू दैट ट्रैप. Don't be fooled by experts. Don't look up Google for what parenting or child whatever is. Don't look up diseases. बट मेडिकेशन के अलावा तुम उस चीज के डेप्थ तक नहीं जा रहे जो एस्ट्रोलॉजी में पॉसिबिलिटी है. ठीक है, आई वोंट टेक मच ऑफ योर टाइम. तो सबसे पहले माँ सबसे पहले गुरु होती है. सबसे पहले माँ साइकोलॉजिस्ट है. ये बार बार मैं एम्फोसाइज करता हूँ. मेरे पास माएँ आती है अपने बच्चों को लेके. मैं कहता हूँ आपको ज्यादा पता है मेरे से. आप अपनी बात बताओ पहले, मेरी नहीं सुनो. मुझे नहीं पता है तुम्हारे घर की क्या टेंशन है. सो मदर्स नीड टू बी रिस्पेक्टेड बिकॉज दे आर द मून. लेट्स नॉट डिनाई दैट दे आर द मून इटसेल्फ. तो वो मून को पता है कि घर में क्या प्रॉब्लम हो रही है. अब सबसे बड़ी चीज जो मुझे एस्ट्रोलॉजी के जरिए से पता चली कि कुछ तो प्रारब्ध के साथ या हम दृढ़ कर्मा या अदृढ़ कर्मा के साथ वो बच्चे का वो एस्ट्रोलॉजिकल लेंस बन जाता है. अब एक माँ है मेरी, मेरे सर पे सैटर्न राहु मून है, तो मेरा तो मदर वाला रिलेशनशिप ही बिल्कुल उड़ गया. उसकी वोल्टेज ही उड़ गई. मेरे भाई के साथ जुपिटर मून को देख रहा है. वो और मम्मी एकदम बेस्ट फ्रेंड है. मम्मी वही, बच्चे दो, प्रॉब्लम कैसे है. सो अ लॉट ऑफ इट इज डेस्टिनी. ये चीज एस्ट्रोलॉजी सिखाती है, ये चीज साइकोलॉजिस्ट नहीं सिखाता. वो लोग सोचते हैं कि वो आपके थॉट्स के ऊपर काम करके कि आपको चेंज कर देंगे. नहीं, कुछ चीजें डेस्टिनी के थ्रू आती हैं. आई डिडंट हेल्प इट. आई डिडंट आस्क फॉर अ मदर टू बी दिस वे. आई डिडंट आस्क फॉर माय मदर टू बी कोल्ड. दिस इज हाउ द प्रारब्ध वाज. आई हैड टू फेस दिस. ठीक है. तो दूसरी बात, गिल्ट. ये गिल्ट वाली चक्कर नहीं करना कि हमने सैक्रिफाइस करा तुम्हारे लिए. जो सर बात बोलते हैं ना, हमने सैक्रिफाइस करा और हम रिलोकेट हुए तुम्हारे चक्कर में. मैं अमेरिका का करा, मैं ये अमेरिका नहीं जा पाया तुम्हारे चक्कर में. मैं ये फलाना ही नहीं कर पाया. बुलशिट. होना वही था जो होना था. उस प्रिवेलिंग सर्कमस्टांसेस में आपने जो सही लगा आपने किया. तो you can't deny it and pass it off to the children because all their life they're going to carry that guilt कि नहीं भैया हमने इसको माल चुकाना है, ये जो हमारे ऊपर इन्वेस्टमेंट कर दी. तो बुलशिट विद दिस गिल्ट नॉनसेंस. ठीक है. ज्यादातर गिल्ट कहाँ देखता हूँ मैं चार्ट में? सैटर्न वीनस प्रॉब्लम आ गई. अगर किसी लड़की की सैटर्न वीनस है, मतलब मम्मी उसको गिल्ट दे रही है, उसकी कैसी दिखती है, कहीं ना कहीं गिल्ट का फैक्टर आ रहा है. ठीक है. तो गिल्ट से बचें. दूसरी चीज, एक्सपेक्टिंग वर्स्ट के सिनारियोस. ओ भाई, ये तो घर से निकला है, ये ट्रैवल पे गया, अब तो ये मर के ही आएगा. यार क्या सीन है. मतलब इफ यू थिंक योर चाइल्ड इज अ डेरेलिक्ट, दे विल टर्न इनटू अ डेरेलिक्ट. इफ यू थिंक योर चाइल्ड इज अ व्हाटएवर गॉन केस, दे विल टर्न इनटू इट. तो आप ये सेल्फ फुलफिलिंग प्रोफेसी को आप ही सेल्फ अवेयरनेस के थ्रू, मेडिटेशन के थ्रू अपने लेंस को खुद ही चेक करना पड़ेगा. कैसे देख रहे हो उस बच्चे को, वो वही तैयार हो जाएगा. तो अपने लेंस को देखें कि किस तरीके से आप उसके ऊपर गौर फरमा रहे हैं. टर्निंग द चाइल्ड इनटू पेरेंट, दिस हैपेंस ऑल द टाइम. बच्चे को अपना स्पंज बना लेती हैं कई मदर्स, बिकॉज कई केसेस में डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस है, फलाना डिमकाना है. मेरे साथ भी ये हुआ. भाई मुझे नहीं लेना देना है कि तुम्हारे पापा के विषय क्या प्रॉब्लम है. इट इज नन ऑफ माई बिजनेस. सो कॉन्स्टेंटली ट्रीटिंग द चाइल्ड एज इफ कि भाई यही है, तू ही है बस मेरा सेवियर, इस जालिम से मुझे ही तू बचाएगा. ब्रो, वो 12 साल का है. कहाँ उसको ये डेटा दे रहे हो? उसको खेलने जाने की उम्र है. आप उसको जबरदस्ती की नॉनसेंस. तब बन जाते हैं मेरे जैसे झक्की साइकोलॉजिस्ट. बनना नहीं. साइकोलॉजिस्ट कोई किताब से नहीं लेके बनता है. उसको आप लोगों ने इतनी ज्यादा डिटेल दे रखी है अपनी लाइफ के बारे में, और आपसे अपने झगड़े सुलझते नहीं है, तो वो बन जाता है बेचारा साइकोलॉजिस्ट, क्योंकि उसको समझ ही नहीं आ रहा. एवरी डे इज फिल्ड विद ट्रॉमा. अगर वो सेकंड चेक ना करे ना, आपकी फीलिंग्स को पढ़ ना रहा हो ना, तो उसको लगेगा भाई अभी बॉम्ब ब्लास्ट. इट्स यूजुअली अ प्लेस वेयर आए दिन क्राइसिस आ रही है. तभी बच्चे इस तरीके के हो जाते हैं एंड दे बिकम पब्लिक प्लीजर्स. नॉट अपोलोजाइजिंग. अपोलोजाइज टू योर चिल्ड्रन. भाई गलती तुमसे भी होती है, गलती उनसे होती है, लेकिन ऐसे नहीं कह सकते कि भाई इसी की गलती है. अपोलोजाइज करो. पुराने मसले हुए थे, उसको क्लोजर दो. कहो कि हाँ हो गया, आई फक्ड अप, आई कुड नॉट नो, आई डिडंट नो व्हाट वाज हैपनिंग टू मी. यू वर गोइंग थ्रू अ रफ सैटर्न ट्रांजिट. अब आज ह्यूमैनिटी इज फॉर एवरीबॉडी टू से कि भाई मेरे से नहीं हो पाया, सॉरी यार. सब एक दूसरे को माफ करो, सब एक दूसरे को थैंक यू बोलो, बात खत्म. लेकिन हमारे फैमिलीज इतनी हायरार्किकल हैं कि अपॉलॉजी तो पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. इतने ढीठ हैं, मानेंगे नहीं कि गलती करके बैठे हुए हैं. फिर वही श्रवण कुमार नॉनसेंस, जो सर इसके ऊपर ऑलरेडी बहुत बता चुके हैं भाई. क्या बताओ इसके ऊपर. तो भाई माफ मांग लो, माफी मांग लो. हाँ, रिस्पेक्ट द बाउंड्रीज. बच्चे आपका एक्सटेंशन नहीं है. जब तक बच्चा गोद में होता है, स्तनपान कर रहा होता है, शरीर से जुड़ा होता है, तब तक बच्चे को ये लगता है कि मैं और मम्मी फिजिकली एक ही बाउंड्री है, एक ही शरीर है. ठीक है. लेकिन 3-4 साल के बाद जब उसका इंडिविजुएशन होने लगता है, उसकी बॉडी डिस्टिंक्ट है, वो आपका अपेंडेज नहीं है, वो आपका मोबाइल फोन नहीं है, तो उसकी हर लाइफ के हर एस्पेक्ट में घुसने की जरूरत नहीं है। प्रिवेसी दीजिए, उसको बाउंड्रीज इंश्योर करिए, उसकी ड्रेसिंग टेबल में जाके उसके ईमेल फोल्डर्स में उसके मोबाइल को चेक करने की जरूरत नहीं, क्योंकि अगर आपने रिस्पेक्ट नहीं की उसकी बाउंड्रीज, कोई रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करने वाला। फिर यही केसेस में बाद में चल के मोलेस्टेशन हो जाता है या फिर वर्क प्लेस सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट हो जाता है, क्योंकि उस बच्चे को पता ही नहीं है कि मेरे को ना कैसे कहना है, क्योंकि माँ ने सिखाया नहीं। ठीक है, तो बाउंड्रीज सबसे पहले इंपॉर्टेंट है। ये मतलब नंबर 1, इंडियन पेरेंट्स डोंट रिस्पेक्ट बाउंड्रीज। इनको पता ही नहीं है किस गर्लफ्रेंड से शादी हो रही है, क्या हो रहा है, सब जानना है। नहीं भाई, यू आर रियली स्क्रूइंग prospective relationships for your son and your daughter by getting into each and every affair. Please don't do that. ठीक, उसके बाद ये हो गया परफेक्शनिज्म के ऊपर। तो सर बहुत ही सारी बातें बोल चुके हैं कि ग्रेड सारे परफेक्ट नहीं आएंगे। एक विनिकोट नाम के ब्रिटिश साइकोएनालिस्ट थे, वो मेरे फेवरेट है, मैं उनको पढ़ता हूँ। वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 के बाद औरतें घबराई हुई थी, बम गिर रहे थे इधर से उधर, तो वो परेशान थे कि यार मैं अपने बच्चे कैसे पालूं, जैसे अभी गाजा में हो रहा है। तो उसने वो रेडियो शो होस्ट करता था, कभी मेरे को टाइम मिलेगा मैं वो रेडियो क्लिपिंग्स आप लोगों के साथ शेयर करूंगा। उसने कॉइन किया गुड इनफ पेरेंटिंग, गुड इनफ मदर। गुड इनफ मतलब बच्चे के यार 60 नंबर आ गए ना, 70 नंबर आ गए ना, कोई दिक्कत नहीं, आज खाना टाइम पे बन गया, कोई दिक्कत नहीं, बस में पकड़ लिया ना, कोई दिक्कत नहीं। गुड इनफ के साथ आप रहेंगे तो ह्यूमन रहेंगे। और A+ के चक्कर में फंसे रहेंगे, A- के चक्कर में फंसे रहेंगे तो कोई पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है कि सुख चैन हो जाए। बच्चे परफेक्ट नहीं हो सकते, ये एक बहुत ही डायनामिक एनवायरनमेंट है। ऊपर से अब हम किस तरफ जा रहे हैं, सो गो फॉर गुड इनफ, इट इज वेरी हीलिंग। गो फॉर गुड इनफ फॉर योरसेल्फ आल्सो। यही मैं पेरेंट्स को कहना चाहता हूँ। गुड इनफ डे था ना, चलेगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। गुड इनफ को करें, कई बार बहुत बार कोशिश करी, लेकिन बड़े इतने अड़ियल लोग होते हैं। नहीं नहीं नहीं, मैंने कहा मशीन नहीं है तुम्हारे बच्चे, तुम ये आईटी के पैरामीटर्स नहीं डाल सकते उनके ऊपर, दे आर एक्सट्रीमली डायनामिक। एंड व्हाट यू आर ट्राइंग कि इसकी नहीं ऐसे ही आएगा, यही सीजीपीए आएगा, नहीं पॉसिबल है। फिर उसके बाद कोटा में ले जाके तुम पंखों के ऊपर अलार्म लगा, दिस इज वेयर इट इज ऑल स्क्रूड अप। हम पंखों पे अलार्म लगा रहे हैं, लेकिन मसला क्या है, उसको जाने नहीं था उस कोचिंग में, तुमने फंसा दिया। ठीक है, अब लास्ट एक आधा पॉइंट और
I
ये।
always say, and तुषार ये मेरी दुखती रह गया, सॉरी टू इंटरप्ट,
हाँ नहीं नहीं, प्लीज
और
प्लीज।
इस डायलॉग का जवाब मुझे कोई पेरेंट नहीं दे पाता। मैं कहता हूँ अगर देसी पेरेंट भगवान का रूप है तो उनके मंदिर की घंटियां कोटा के पंखे हैं।
कोटा के पंखे हैं, ये सबसे क्या बताएं, मतलब ये वायलेंट स्ट्रक्चर खत्म ही नहीं हो रहा। 1990 के बाद से, जब से ये आईटी बूम आया है, हम देखना ही भूल गए हैं कि और एवेन्यूज हो सकते हैं बच्चे के। एस्ट्रोलॉजी सामने सामने बोल देती है उसका 5th हाउस, उसका 6th हाउस कैसा है। वो नहीं बनाया उतनी बारीकी के लिए, वो नहीं बनाया उतनी मैथमेटिकल प्रोडिजी। उसको तुम क्या कह रहे हो, क्या व्हाइट हैट जूनियर क्यों करा रहे हो यार? कोडिंग नहीं सीखनी उसको, कोडिंग नहीं सीखनी उसको, उसको अभी फुकरा बनने दो कुछ टाइम। ठीक है, थोड़े टाइम फुकरा बनने दो, अपने आप रास्ते पे आ जाएगा। वाई? बिकॉज जब तुम प्रेजेंट रहोगे, बी प्रेजेंट, तो ये प्रेजेंस तो प्रॉब्लम है नहीं, वो हो नहीं सकता, क्योंकि मोबाइल फोन हाथ में है, मोबाइल फोन से आ जाता है सोशल मीडिया। अब ये नई प्रॉब्लम आ गई है, पैदा हो गया छोटा सा नन्ना सा बच्चा, उसका सोशल मीडिया फोटो शूट करके डाल लो, फिर वो बड़ा हो गया नाच रहा, उसकी सोशल मीडिया वाला ज़ॉम्बी बनाना है क्या? वो बिना फोन के रह नहीं सकता। उसकी हर एक चीज एक वाइडर ऑडियंस के लिए हो गई है। और आज हम जानते हैं साइबर बुलिंग क्या चीज है। आपने उसके हाथ में ये इंस्टाग्राम नाम की चीज दे दी है और उसको खुला छोड़ दिया है। उसके बाद किसी ने शेयर भी किया था व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप पे कि क्या सोशल मीडिया, स्वीडन में किसी ने, कि क्या वायलेंस है। सो प्रोटेक्ट योर सेल्फ। आपकी इमेज, आपकी सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट, आप दुनिया में जो नाम कमाना चाहते थे उसका वो लाइसेंस नहीं है, उसकी अलग जिंदगी है, वो अलग अपना जर्नी लेके आया है। तो सोशल मीडिया से बचें। आप जल्दी जल्दी इसको फिनिश करते हैं। ठीक है, चार पांच स्टाइल की पेरेंटिंग होती है। देखिए, एक तो होती है अथॉरिटेरियन पेरेंटिंग, जो सर ने सबसे पहले बताया कि भाई मैंने जो कह दिया वही है, मेरे को सुनना ही नहीं है तुम क्या कह रहे हो, जिसमें से हम कई सारे गुजर चुके हैं, इसीलिए अभी तक वो रगड़ रहे हैं। पर परमिसिव पेरेंटिंग एक होती है कि भाई कोई नहीं, सब चलता है, सब चलता है में क्या हो जाता है कि फिर वो अजीब सा, वो गांजे के पेड़ के जैसा हो जाता है, उसको पता ही नहीं वो कहाँ जा रहा है। यूजुअली इट लीड्स टू साइकोसिस। जब क्या हुआ कि देयर इज टू मच परमिसिवनेस, फादर की बाउंड्रीज ही नहीं सेट है, देयर इज नो फादर, इज ओनली द मदर सेइंग यस टू एवरीथिंग। अब क्या हो गया, वो म्यूटेट हो गया है, उसको लगता है दुनिया में हर चीज उसके लिए पॉसिबल है। ठीक है, दैट इज लीडिंग टू साइकोसिस, उसकी रियलिटी टेस्टिंग स्क्रूड अप हो गई। ठीक, इसके बाद आती है आपकी ये अथॉरिटेटिव। ये इट्स अ नाइस बैलेंस, इट्स की फर्म है बट लविंग है, हाँ ना कहना आता है। ठीक, इनकरेज इंडिपेंडेंस विद इन लिमिट्स। neglecting parents, as the name says, कि uninvolved and uninterested, which happens. हेलीकॉप्टर पेरेंटिंग एक नया किसी ने कॉइन किया है. वो कहते हैं इसमें कि आप उसके हर एक एस्पेक्ट को मैनेज कर रहे हो, जूते के फीते से लेकर खाने के टिफिन बॉक्स से लेकर वो हर एक चीज को. देयर इज नो पॉइंट उसमें. और बच्चा गणित नहीं कर पा रहा, आप उसके साथ बैठ गए, नहीं नहीं ऐसे ऐसे, नहीं नहीं उसको थोड़ा फेल होने दो यार, थोड़ा खुद प्रयास करने दो. प्रयास नहीं करने देते. इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. एक बड़ा किसी ने मॉन्टेसरी ने कहा था कि जो काम वो कह रहा है कि वो कर सकता है उसको करने दो. अगर वो चाय बना सकता है उसको बनाने दो. अगर वो बल्ब लगा सकता है उसको लगाने दो. अगर वो बाहर से जाके सामान ला सकता है उसको लाने दो. उसको कोशिश करो. इंडिपेंडेंस उसके अंदर एनहांस करो. अमेरिकियों की तरह नहीं कि उसको खुला छोड़ दिया कि वो रोता रहे, हम दूसरे कमरे में बैठे, हमने इंडिपेंडेंस नहीं, वो नहीं, इतना ज्यादा नहीं होना है. लेकिन नहीं, जस्ट अलाओ, स्लोली स्लोली करे. गलती हो रही कोई बात नहीं, आप धीमे धीमे आओ. सो डोंट माइक्रो मैनेज ऑल एस्पेक्ट्स. इसमें हम देख सकते हैं कि भाई इसमें से ज्यादातर हम वी कीप रिवॉल्विंग अराउंड ऑल ऑफ दीज एस्पेक्ट्स. ठीक है, आखिरी सी छोटी मोटी चीज है कि इफ यू डिडंट कम फ्रॉम अ लविंग फैमिली व्हिच इज मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस, मेक श्योर अ लविंग फैमिली कम्स आउट ऑफ यू. आज मेरा बच्चा हुआ है, मर्क्यूरी की दशा में पैदा हुआ है, उसके ऊपर बृहस्पति की उसके चंद्रमा पे दृष्टि है. मैं इसी से खुश हो गया कि जुपिटर इज लुकिंग ऑन हिज मून. मेरा सैटर्न राहु मून जो भी था, मैंने कष्ट झेले. मैं जो भी मेरे साथ हुआ, कोई नहीं, आज बच्चे को गुरु देख रहा है. तो सीन ये है कि चाहे जो जहां तक पहुंचे, कोई नहीं, अब नए रास्ते निकलते हैं. थैंक यू फॉर गिविंग मी अ चांस.
what a passionate presentation. मतलब मैं बड़ी मुश्किल अपने आंखें रोकी मैंने. तुषार, it was very very heartfelt. So this is the reason, and I always say nobody with a good moon can get interested in psychology. Has to be a screwed up moon. Typically psychiatrists you will find Cancer moon, Scorpio moon, at times Pisces moon, and more often than not moon Rahu together.
बोल रहा हूँ.
तो जो जाके पहनना पड़े बवाई वाला सीन होता है. These are the guys who get into in depth के होता क्या है. The reason when I got unplugged from the matrix, कुछ महीने तो मुझे सदमा ही रहा था जब मेरी पहली अनप्लगिंग हुई थी. अभी तो कंप्लीट हो गया मसला, अब तो I laugh at it. But it took me 10 years to get totally unplugged. और जब पहला unplugging हुआ था मुझे लगा ये क्या हो गया यार. It happened with the Mahabharata, and I have a theory we'll discuss some other day. मुझे नहीं लगता कि ये एक सेशन काफी रहेगा. हम सारे में ट्रॉमा बॉन्ड बहुत दिख रहा. The entire panel shares a trauma bond perhaps. So we'll have a different thing. बाकी two things I would like to comment on. तुमने बहुत बढ़िया बोली. मैं पेरेंट्स को एक चीज बोलना चाहूंगा, स्पेशली उनको जो स्कूल्स को बड़ा सीरियसली लेते हैं. मैं एक चीज कहता हूँ, ये स्कूल पहले बने या फैक्ट्रियां पहले बनी.
क्या बात है, इंडस्ट्रियल एवोल्यूशन.
What
यस यस.
custom made gulam replaceable by each other. Then they went ahead and funding the education system. So A for apple है तो A for apple ही है. तुम A for America लिखो, तुम्हारे नंबर कटे जाएंगे. That is the agenda. ठीक है. वन बच्चा हैज टू बी अ प्रॉपर कॉपी ऑफ दूसरा बच्चा, क्योंकि वो इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन में यही चाहिए था, यही हुआ. So the matrix goes very deep. I always say follow the money. अब जब उनको AI और ये सब हो रहा है, now they are encouraging कि साहब बच्चे ज्यादा पैदा नहीं हो, and they are encouraging divorce is no fault divorce ही है, वो gay lesbian culture को promote किया जा रहा है, because now they don't need you so much. तो ये लंबी कहानी है. We'll discuss some other day. So next slide. Rahul, time for you to take up the screen.
Yes, sir. Thank you for this and amazing inputs and insights coming from all of them, from Samantha and Dr. Sujata, and passionate plea come angst come tremendous insights coming from Tushar bhai. Great to hear different parts of experiential inputs as well as learnings that we've had professionally, each one of us. So in the capacity of an educationist or a mentor or a coach or a counselor for the last 20 years and more, and more so, I'm dealing with this age group of 10 to 19 years since the last 3 years since I've started Rahul Zaveri Edu Pathways. there are some common patterns which I see emerging with the Gen Z. I'm focusing more on this generation rather than the parents, because this is where I'm interacting with. One of the things which I and a lot of you talked about earlier is, for them, their online self or the perceived self is far more important than the real self.
Hmm.
It comes from the premise that if I am not present online in the optimal self with all the filters and all the beautiful things which I need to showcase happening in my life, whether they are or are not truly speaking, I am left behind. I'm seeing the Gen Z feels I'm seen as a loser. Everybody's life is very beautiful. My life is not. So being present online is extremely important. I don't even exist in real life offline if I'm not there online. And this is a conversation that is being had with where parents are insisting that my kid is spending so many hours on online gaming and Instagram and Reddit and WhatsApp chatting with friends and a lot of other platforms. And if there is a discussion on unplugging online, then the kid feels it's an existential crisis. Do I really exist if I don't have that? So that's one pattern which emerges. Uh, in my coaching, I've seen there's a tremendous need for entertainment, and their attention spans are so short. If you talk something important, slightly deeper, slightly serious, it
Right.
has to be laced with some form of audiovisual medium. It has to be cocooned into something where there is a little bit of a joke or a little bit of a fun element along with it. Uh, Even serious education, more and more will need to be more entertainment driven. And sometimes I question myself that what is it that they're going to do, and all my sympathies for mainstream teachers today who deal with these kids for 5 to 6 hours every day to maintain their attention spans. And these days there's this big trend of getting feedback, optimal feedback from the teacher. So for the teacher from the kids. So one side is the popularity contest, how popular is the teacher based on how cool the teacher is, and the other side is the teacher's true calling, where the coach or the teacher wants to bring out the best of the kid, which is usually unpopular because you're pushing the child to bring out more. So that's where the other challenge is. Um, uh, I think we've discussed it earlier. GVK sir presented it, and others said that roti kapda makan, food, clothing, shelter is taken care of by the previous generation. Mom, dad have more or less taken care of it. So what is my purpose of life? What should I do? What should I explore? And interestingly, YouTube influencers, social media influencers do have an inordinate influence on the way that they are thinking or they're aspiring to be or towards where they want to go. Uh, they are very okay trying out different things, but the paradox is they don't want to be seen as failing on an open platform. So I want to try out different things. I want to try, by the very virtue of you wanting to try out different things means that you are going to fail at a few things, the theory of probability, but they are not very okay failing out in the open and things coming out in the open. Somewhere there is this strong insecurity about being labeled as a failure. They don't want to carry that label. Probably seen in the previous generations, our generation, earlier generation as well. But the desire of not being seen as a failure is extremely high in this generation. That's the other thing. Uh, they like honest discussion. They like very upfront ideas. Sir presented, GVK sir, you presented right at the start that you give them reasons, you give them logic, you tell them this is what it is and this is what is good for you. Uh, they might disagree with you on the face, on the surface, but in the hearts of hearts, they will go and do what is right for them to do. So again, the dichotomy between there is a gap or a discerning gap between what they say they will do and what they actually go and do it. Okay, is so a lot of paradoxes I'm seeing in this generation coming in more and more. I was listening to a few podcasts from these renowned podcasters, very good content online, and they said that unlike a US or a Europe, where looking at the way things are moving virtual, probably the structure of family, weddings, marriage is expected to collapse in the next 7 to 10 years. In Eastern societies, especially in India, family will continue to be very, very important and the central point for them. At the same time, when they're going and seeking relationships with friends, with cousins, with even in terms of a relationship to get into an emotional relationship, a boy with a girl with a boy, or otherwise, it's more and more about what am I going to get out of this. Okay, it's a lot more transactional, and the question of what is in it for me is at the forefront of any relationship building that they're getting into, which is in a lot of ways good, but it's very scary as well, because everything can't be transactional. Everything can't be, I am paying this, so I need to get 1x or 1.5x or 2x in return for this payment that I'm doing in terms of emotions, mental bandwidth, time, money, whatever it is. I've also seen that these two famous terms that at least we grew up with, I believe I grew up with, एक तो तुम्हारे भले के लिए ही कह रहे हैं,
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
सेकंड बड़ों का लिहाज करो, शर्म नहीं आती. These two terms don't cut with them at all. They simply shrug and walk away. Okay, they're very, very clear about I am being guilt shamed, or that I am being made to feel guilty or made to feel shameful. And it's not going to cut because I have a clear sense of what is happening. There's a lot of exposure to the outside world and pop psychology as it is on YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels and other places. A lot of it is not really in good taste, but they more or less have made up their sense of what is right and what is wrong. Phone continues to be the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and the last companion with them. Unfortunately, this is the reality, and I don't know, perhaps Tushar Bhai will be in a good position to help us understand what's really happening with the dopamine and oxytocin levels in these kids, with so much of stimulation on a non-stop basis, a requirement for that. I believe in our generation, one visit to a restaurant on a Sunday, or if you are in Bombay, a Juhu Beach or a Chowpatty on a Sunday, was like you looked forward to doing that, right? This generation needs 20x, 40x, 60x more dopamine hits than what we needed, probably more. And that is why they keep going back to the cell phone and the Instagrams of the world on an ongoing basis. I believe it's an entitled generation, at least the way I see it. I want it and I want it now. Patience levels are extremely low. This is a very broad brush stroke. I'm sure there are some of them who have developed patience, but generally speaking, patience levels are on the lower side. And we've seen that coming across in an Amazon or a Flipkart delivery to your same day. If that was not enough, a Blinkit, a Dunzo, a Zepto is saying, we'll give it to you in 20 minutes. Why worry? At 12:30 in the night, you feel like having an ice cream. All the ice cream shops are closed. We'll deliver it. You feel like eating a watermelon. 18 minutes, the guy will be at your doorstep. So it's feeding into, it's not that businesses are developing these tendencies into people. It's the people's tendencies which are driving the business models of these startups is what is something that I'm seeing. And this is probably not only in Gen Z, but also people from our generation are getting hooked onto things like this.
I can't live without Blinkit.
Yeah. Okay. So broad. Interestingly, if you look at the data, if I can just go back to the data that we have, 0 to 24-year-old age group in our country in 2023 constitutes 45%. This 0 to 24-year-old age group constitutes 45% of the 145 crore population of this country. So and Tushar sir, just extending it, अगर 0 to 24 जो 45% है, उसको 24 से 6 साल बढ़ा दे, 0 to 30, it is 60% of the population today. Okay, so and everything in this country is going to get geared up more and more towards the Gen Z. Is what the trends look like. This is some data from their habits. They like to pay through UPI. Again, convenience trumps everything else. They don't want to wait. They don't want to enjoy those points on credit card and pay after 40 days and all. It doesn't cut with them. Cash is out. They don't like to carry cash too much. UPI is supposedly a great boon for them. And also on the other side, where businesses are very happy, right from you want to buy something for 5 rupees or 5 lakh rupees, UPI is the go-to place for a lot of people. They do demand very good quality experience, and they're not happy with lower quality of service, which probably we were okay with if we get something slightly cheaper. They wanted the good value for money, they want a good ROI, but the driving force is good quality experience. That is going to determine everything. Increasing focus on fitness, a lot of focus on fitness, slowly but surely, how I look, how I'm toned up, because it's an Instagram generation, right? They need to keep putting it themselves on Instagram. So how they look and is very important. And in my leadership coaching, I do a goal setting exercise as my first 2 or 3 sessions. And increasingly, I'm seeing people saying, I want to retire by 30, 35, perhaps go to New Zealand. A lot of kids, New Zealand. I said, why? Like, if Third World War breaks up, New Zealand is the safest country. Nobody's going to touch us over there. So they are also thinking of probable scenarios, interestingly, but essentially they want to retire rich and retire very early by pressing buttons and becoming influencers and people who are able to get the celebrityhood pretty soon. They believe it is very easy because who knows, the Zepto brothers were sitting in Dubai 2.5 years back, 3 years back, thinking of going to one of the Ivy League schools, and COVID came, and currently they've got funding in the last 2 years of $530 million US, and they are just about touching 20 years of age. So role models have changed, and of course opportunities have also changed for them. Okay. I believe COVID has changed a lot of their mental makeup. 2 years of staying indoors outside of their normal environment of going out, breathing, running around, those 1.5, 2 years did take a toll on them. Sluggishness, lack of interest, change of ideas has picked up. And somewhere the basic instincts have really gone low. They're simmered down. Need to fire up a lot more is what I think. We are out of COVID since about, I believe, 1.5 years now or 2 years. Still, I am seeing at least after effects of the same in a lot of kids. And finally, like us, false scarcity works beautifully for them. If you can't have it, I want it more. I definitely want it. How can I not have it? Okay, so this is where we are with this.
सर एक छोटा सा मैं एक बहुत छोटी सी बात कहना चाहूंगा. आप जब किसी बच्चे के साथ मिलेंगे और खास करके आज की जनरेशन तक, तो स्पेशली जावेरी जी, आप बच्चों के साथ काम करते हैं. एक चीज जो मुझे हेल्प करी है समझने में, डॉगमा व्हाटएवर दे आर ट्राइंग टू इंट्रोड्यूस exponential multiplicity into the psyche. If you can speak to them, somehow convince them that all this multiplicity, even though it lets them label their pain, is not helping them come back to their wholeness. Come back to this. This is not, cannot be divided into so many categories. And the more you go, तो ये सबकी दुकानें इसी से चल रही हैं.
Next.
Sir, one more request as we are going through this, right? I would really love more deep talk on what Tushar sir posted from a very astrological angle, both ways. Parents looking at their fifth house. He touched upon the points which I was exactly wanting a deep session is from our child looking at the fifth, from a parental view looking at the fifth house, and from the child's view looking at the sun and moon. I would really love a unrecorded, unfiltered session on that.
We can do that maybe sometime in the future. Because like Rahul ji said, we can do a 20-hour podcast of this thing and it still won't end. And I'm actually working on an entire book about the Desi matrix. So it will cover everything from how the schools beta-tize you to how the companies handle you, what happened with the transfer of power, how the society has been using you, how the Desi men have been freaking simped out.
Simped out, absolutely.
Okay.
Simped out.
Abhi isme next slide aayega, Raising Sons wala, I'll talk about it. So I have been, when I started doing my research on Mars, I was like, theek hai, it's just a planet. It blew my freaking mind. I'm getting goosebumps when I say this. कि भाई सारा गेम तो यहाँ हो गया.
सारा गेम यही है. बहुत से
लोग शनि की ढोलक बजाते रहे कि जनता ने मार्स गायब कर दिया गया लोगों का यहाँ पे।
गायब कर दिया।
1857 के बाद से इंडिया के मार्स पे इतने हमले हुए आप लोग गिन नहीं सकते। Our men have the lowest testosterone in the world. Descendants of Bhim and Arjun and Duryodhan. Lowest testosterone in the world. How did that happen? Britishers unleashed Shani on us.
Hmm.
Okay, and a big part of that Shani was the bloody bureaucracy. We'll talk about it. And I'll talk about what to do about it. Everybody cannot be unplugged, but those who can be unplugged, we will try to. So it's a very vast project. I think I've booked some room in Rishikesh in December. I'll go and try and write there. So it might take me 1 or 2 years to complete that book. It's a mega project. But the day I completed my unplugging, I'll tell you 2-3 things. Okay. देसी मैट्रिक्स का सोर्स कोड माता पिता भगवान का रूप है. उसके बाद में the betatization by 1,000 cuts. How the men in this country have been absolutely ravished. आपका हमारा generation ये जो हम कर रहे हैं, it's a part of, especially the men in this panel, it is our midlife crisis. Yeah? We are worried कि हमारे बेटों के साथ वो ना हो जाए जो हमारे साथ हुआ.
हाँ.
So
सही बात है.
it's I think it's the grace of Mars or something. I just woke up and I was like, wow, ये हो क्या रहा है यार? And this is how to stop it. But it cannot be done at a mass level. It can be done at an individual level. You and the 5, 10, 20 people you care about, you can rescue them. सबको नहीं बचाया जा सकता है. It has gone freaking too far. And in the current situation, it is going very far. Bollywood is a part of it. Okay. The British after 1857, they realized इन लोगों के हाथ में हथियार नहीं रहना चाहिए. इनका मार्स मार डालो. और हमारे ऋषि मुनि क्या बोल के गए थे? साहब इस ग्रह का नाम क्या है? मंगल. और हमने क्या किया कि साहब ये तो शादियों में कलेश कराता है. अरे लड़का मांग लिख. Screw you.
Absolutely.
शादियों में कलेश केतु और सन कराते हैं मेरे भाई. शनि कराता. मंगल तो 4th 5वें नंबर पे है. मंगल is the manhood which has been bashed up by this country.
यार आदमी प्यार ही ना करे मंगल ना हो तो. We won't be born without मंगल.
Yeah, you won't be.
और क्या?
मंगल का symbol is very phallic. It's that kind of a thing. So यहाँ पे लोगों की मर्दानगी खत्म कर रखी है.
खत्म.
The day I woke up for the first time to this thing was around 2010, I think 2010, when I read the Mahabharata. And then I went down the rabbit hole कि महाभारत पढ़ने क्यों नहीं देते. और उसके बाद जो मेरी आंखें खुलनी शुरू हुई. 1000 पन्ने की किताब आने वाली है. I'll share with you guys. Okay, कम से कम 1000 पेजेस में जाएगा जो कुछ हुआ है. So the day I think I told Vishal कि भाई मेरा unplugging आज complete हो गया. आखिरी तार उखड़ गया है. So Vishal, like I said, Vishal is one of the best fathers I've known in my life. Vishal, over to you.
Namaskar ji. My daughter is the first girl in 64 years in our family. मेरी बुआ लास्ट गर्ल थी. जब मेरी डॉटर हुई, मेरी बुआ 64 years की थी. Ignorance of raising daughters. Think about the pressure she is born into, right? First daughter, and most importantly, mera role became more important because now I don't want her childhood to drown into the expectations of the first daughter in 64 years. But that's how the journey started for us, right? Now, some things I want to talk about. So I may not be, I may not be the perfect person to talk about raising daughters right, but I definitely have good examples of what I have gone through with my daughter over the last 11 years. I personally feel that I learn more from her every day than what I teach her, right? Every day. So all fathers, right? This is a very cliched statement. Har ek jana bolta hai, you are her first love. right? A father is a daughter's first love, but it's true. You know why? They observe you from the beginning, and whatever you do now is their foundation for their relationships in the future. Whatever a father does is their foundation for their boyfriends, their husbands, people they deal with, men they deal with in life. So I
really
think
want
the
to vouch to that.
And I'll share one thing which I learned recently when I was doing that research on Mars and the man-woman dynamics. Anybody with a daughter needs to hear this. Okay. So there was this America ki baat hai as usual. So there was this very nasty playboy who was 50s ka age, and he always had a girlfriend who was like 20 something. So one of his friends went out and asked him, "Okay, bhai, how do I protect my daughter from someone like you?" And he said, "Look, you better tell her that you love her, otherwise someone like me will tell her he loves her."
सही बात है.
Makes sense. Please continue.
That's right. That's right. Perfect example. So that's what I feel, that you leave a imprint on her life, right? And whatever imprint you leave, for example, it's not just how you treat her, how you treat your wife, her mother. She looks at that and she measures that how a relationship is going to be, right? So never in our life our daughter has seen our fights, but she has always seen our friendly fires, ek dusre ko nok jok, because she sees a healthy fight happening where there is love, there is kindness, there is respect. We should break the mold of daddy's little girl. I hate the term daddy's little girl. Personally, it sounds cute, it's great on a tattoo on girls' hands and all that stuff, but there shouldn't be a concept of daddy's little girl. Yes, it is daddy's girl, but that girl, it's daddy's responsibility to teach her how to be a woman in this world and how to live her own life, how to be independent. I think Tushar Bhai touched upon that topic, Rahul touched upon that topic, because whatever you do will be measured with what you have done. She will measure everybody else against you, right? And that's a double-edged sword. Because today, if I give everything to my daughter, मुझे ये चाहिए लाके दे दिया, मुझे ये चाहिए लाके दे दिया, मुझे एक कार चाहिए लाके दे दी. The expectation is same with her boyfriends, her husbands, her men she deals in life, or anybody else. For that matter, we are talking about men. In general, the expectation setting is that मेरे मन में इच्छा होगी, मुझे वो जरूर मिलेगा. But that's not how life is. लाइफ में कितनी बार आपको चीजें नहीं भी मिलती हैं, बहुत बार तो आपको नहीं ही मिलती हैं. लाइफ इज नेवर अप टू द एक्सपेक्टेशंस. सो डैडीज लिटिल गर्ल विल ऑलवेज हैव एक्सपेक्टेशंस कंप्लीटेड एट द विम. अभी चाहिए अभी मिलेगा. आई पर्सनली फील नो, देयर हैज टू बी अ बैलेंस. इट शुडंट बी अथॉरिटेटिव, बट देयर हैज टू बी अ बैलेंस इन पेरेंट, where you have to understand, and this is something which आपको एक बहुत मजेदार एग्जांपल देता हूं सर. ये मुझे पता है किसने सिखाया था. मेरा एक ड्राइवर होता था, and my daughter was I think 1.5 2 years old. जैसे मैंने बताया 64 years, first daughter, सारे लोग प्यार कर रहे हैं, बड़ा लाड चल रहा है. But he told me that one of you has to go rogue and one of you has to draw lines, right? So that's when I realized. Now I'll come to the next one, which is change your topic with age. This is actually something which I've absolutely learned from my father. Change your topics with age. My topics have, gone from Barbie to Doraemon to cosmology, right? As age goes, you have to keep on changing your topics. You cannot think that it's a kid or it's a child. Unko kya samjhega? I'll give you an example of astrology. My daughter, again, we are not discussing charts in details, but my daughter has Jupiter in the second house. I was talking to her this afternoon. मैं उसको बोल रहा हूँ कि देखो, money, yes, in some shape, form, you will earn. But what you have to learn is the value of money and how to manage your money. Now, this is something I'm talking to an 11-year-old. But I feel now is the time when she understands the value of money. अभी तक तो नहीं समझ आता था ना, अब समझ में आने लगा है. So this is the time I'll start laying the foundations. You will be surprised to know the kind of words मेरे साथ discussions होती हैं आजकल. F word, A word, S word, आ गया discussion, सारी आ गई है सामने. But that's okay. Because what I tell her is that don't worry about these words. You will hear these words. If I censor these words at home, it's not that you will not hear them. You will listen to them in school. But you should know what is right, what is wrong. You should know which word to use, which word not to use. That difference you should have. And you should know when to use your judgment to execute the good versus bad. So that is something which I have been working with her. फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं आज उसको मून का एग्जाम्पल दे रहा था. उसके 7th हाउस में मून है. मैंने उसको बोला रिमेंबर वन थिंग, दिस विल ऑलवेज मेक यू जज योरसेल्फ अकॉर्डिंग टू अदर पीपल. 7th हाउस मून विल मेक यू जज व्हाट यू आर इन फ्रंट ऑफ अदर पीपल. एंड दैट इज समथिंग, दैट इज द स्ट्रगल, दैट इज व्हाट यू हैव टू ओवरकम. राइट. ये टॉपिक्स जो है 11 साल के बच्चे के साथ कर सकते हैं. यू विल बी सरप्राइज्ड टू नो कि दे अंडरस्टैंड सो मच. हम उसको बच्चा समझ के नहीं लाते ये टॉपिक्स कभी, right?
No, my
So
daughter, I'll tell you, Vishal sir, my daughter wanted to know about the bank run that happened.
हाँ.
यहाँ तो I live out of the Bay Area. यहाँ तो तबाही मची हुई थी उस दिन. That Friday, it was horrible that Friday, right? This kind of news that we were hearing as the bank run was happening. And she wanted to understand, and I was shocked that she understood exactly what happened. मेरे को तो समझ में नहीं आया, but इनको समझ में आ गया. बैंक रन हुआ था.
You will be
And she was
surprised.
7 years old.
Exactly. अरे उस दिन आके मुझे बोलती है कि you know it's a transgender. मतलब ट्रांसजेंडर क्या होता है, right? Sometimes I ask questions ये देखने के लिए कि तुमको कितना पता है, क्योंकि मैं अपने पत्ते क्यों खोलूं ना. पहले तुम बताओ तुम्हें कितना पता है. तो बोलती ट्रांसजेंडर he's a person, he's a male who identifies himself as a female. मतलब ओके चलो ठीक है.
Sir, sorry, may I add to this? Just 4 days back, my son is just turned 15, and I happened to watch Oh My God 2. And I strongly suggest and recommend anybody who's had a kid which is more than 12, 13 years of age, please watch it with your son or daughter.
Yes.
100% watch it.
I've seen it.
But Vishal sir, very spot on fathers talking about these topics.
Discrimination bit topic चल रहा था about sexual discrimination, racial discrimination. She asked me about sexual discrimination. Why do they kill daughters? And did you want me when I was going to be born? Right? So I had a discussion. I said, yeah, I absolutely wanted you. बोले, but why don't people want girls? तो मैंने बताया पहले कैसे सोचते थे, अभी कैसा सोचते हैं. Things are changing. This is how you need to think about. And that brings me to the next point. Give her, I think there's a typo here, sorry about that. Give her a bigger playing field. And what I mean by that is perspective. Playing field, say it's not just about sports. I'm talking about perspective. Give her a broader perspective in life. And how do you do that, right? For me, the most go-to thing which has been around for that is books. Right? Age के साथ books change करते रहो. Age के साथ साथ content change करते रहो. Move away from visual books to words, with age as required. Move away from Harry Potter to Secret 7 to, धीरे धीरे करके I'm going through those phases right now. अभी Macbeth हुआ, Shakespeare हुआ, या फिर for that matter, now I'm getting into Amar Chitrakatha, right? So I'm trying to tell her to read Amar Chitrakatha, although they find it boring because I'm surprised. I used to eat novels, breakfast, lunch, dinner, comics, Amar Chitrakatha, Tinkle, Chacha Chaudhary, पढ़ता ही रहता था. इनको बहुत बोरिंग लगता है. आई थिंक राहुल सर दैट ब्रिंग्स टू योर पॉइंट इंस्टेंट ग्रेटिफिकेशन. अभी उनको यूट्यूब शॉर्ट्स मिल गया है ना, तो कौन अमर चित्रकथा पढ़ेगा पूरा माइथोलॉजी समझने के लिए? But that is something which I am trying to pursue now. Spirituality, mythology, religion. We were talking about religion and spirituality the other day. So I was explaining her what is religion, why it is useful, but spirituality is more important, how to pursue that. So these are kind of topics 11-year-old is open to discuss with you. But the problem is we don't think they are ready. तो हम लोग कभी बात ही नहीं करते या हम लोग लेके ही नहीं आते उन टॉपिक्स को. But I have seen that, you know, she's absolutely interested. Then travel, how much ever possible. That is something which I always believe. How much ever possible, financially, time wise, job wise, travel with them. Travel domestically, travel internationally. Let them see what different cultures are, different foods are, different people are, different types of eyes, different types of foods, clothes. उससे बहुत फर्क पड़ेगा of how they become as individuals in their life, right? So I think that is very important, career wise, right? For example, every day she would come and talk about a new career. Just have a discussion. आप don't think कि ये कहाँ जाएगा, ये डॉक्टर ही बनेगी क्या, ये साइकोलॉजिस्ट बनेगी क्या. Just humor her and talk to her about different. उस दिन अभी थोड़े दिन पहले चंद्रयान देख के वो कॉस्मोलॉजिस्ट बनना था, तो हम लोग कॉस्मोलॉजी की बातें कर रहे थे. No problem, है ना? But आप you also read a little bit and start talking about that topic, right? You don't have to take it seriously कि हाँ कॉस्मोलॉजिस्ट ही बनना है, अभी अभी मार पीट के इसको कॉस्मोलॉजिस्ट बनाएंगे. Last but most important, and this is something I am also guilty of, coming from that generation which Vijay sir spoke about, don't use the guilt card. And my daughter told me point blank one day, you are using the guilt card on me. मुझे तो guilt card शब्द भी नहीं पता था. She said, I know what you're doing, you are using the guilt card on me. So that's when I realized that I am doing that. So I'm also guilty because I have been raised differently, right? So I'm trying to program myself not to do it, but don't use the guilt card. उनको शर्मिंदा करके कोई चीज करवाने की जगह, think of different ways of how to do it. So lot more to talk about. We'll talk more in details अलग-अलग sessions में, but I'll pause here for today.
So you give us hope. You are hope.
Yeah. He is
You
one
are
of
hope.
the best parents, son. Kudos.
You are hope.
Very well done.
हाँ.
Yeah. Next slide.
बहुत सुंदर और सरल.
This one I came across during my Mars wala research, and you guys know I research for months and months and months. मैं एक एंड से घुसूंगा तो दूसरे एंड से निकलूंगा, मेरी आदत है पुरानी. I don't know if you guys are aware कि alpha male क्या होता है, beta male क्या होता है, sigma male क्या होता है. You might have seen some sigma male memes and stuff. So Rahul ji, have you come across these things? You talk to a lot of young people. Rahul?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So Sigma, I am a Sigma male and I'm an Alpha. Typically, the conversation is around Alpha male and Sigma male. The Sigma male presumably is the cool guy. He is the understated, smooth, suave, sophisticated version of a James Bond. And the Alpha male is blazing guns, all out, running out. And kids don't want to be Alpha males, generally speaking, right now.
No, because they don't know what an alpha is. Okay. This terminology comes from the wolf pack. There is a thinker named Vox Day. Okay, he coined these terms, alpha male and beta male. उसके बाद में sigma male उसमें add हो गया. So basically, alpha is the top boss. Okay, you know, the aggressive, bossy types, sort of a king who rules everybody down. Okay. Beta is the praja wala janta, people who have surrendered, who get bossed around by their parents, their wives, their girlfriends, everybody. Sigma male is more of a creation of the internet. वो Sigma male memes बना करके इन लोगों ने वो रशियन गाना साथ में लगा करके वो उस चीज को हिट बना दिया. But there is a small fraction of it. 80% of desi men are plugged in betas. Okay. We are out to please everybody. So I often joke कि बॉस इंडिया में अल्फा मेल्स हो ही नहीं सकते, पैदा होते तो हमको बीटा बोलते हैं, हमारा बेटा आ गया. बोले क्या हुआ साहब, बेटा हुआ. हम तो डे 0 से बीटा मेल्स. स्पेलिंग में सेम. But there is some truth to it. The biggest way we demasculate our boys is one, the parents do it. बेटा ये नहीं करना. देखो उसमें एक नेचुरल इनबॉर्न एग्रेशन है, ठीक है. द मेल हैव टू गो आउट एंड डू समथिंग. उस एग्रेशन को स्टाइफल कर दिया जाता है. बोले साहब खेलोगे कूदोगे होगे खराब, पढ़ोगे लिखोगे बनोगे नवाब। वो नवाबों की बाढ़ देख लो साहब आप, सारे बेरोजगार इंजीनियर्स। उसके बाद में हम इनको स्कूलों में भेजते हैं एंड दे आर not catered to by like the gurus in the gurukuls. Most of our schools are staffed by overworked, underpaid, frustrated ladies. I want this generation to take this, and everyone who has sons to take this. The new motto should be muscle over marks, because most of the Indians, Indians are typically that dad bod types. Our men are grossly out of shape, heavily diabetic. हम diabetes capital हैं दुनिया का. What's wrong with us? Something went wrong. So there is in general a war on boys. West में it's the system, India में it's the parents. And we often say कि साहब वो 2-3 करियर है, नॉर्थ इंडियन है तो गवर्नमेंट जॉब करेगा, IAS बनेगा मेरा बच्चा, ओके। साउथ इंडियन है तो IT जॉब करेगा और अमेरिका जाएगा। हमारा सपना यह है, ये माता पिता का सपना शब्द, इट शुड बी लीगली बैंड। उससे पहले नहीं सुधरने वाले ये लोग। ये श्रवण कुमार के टाइम से कंधे पे बैठे हुए नीचे नहीं उतर के। सो आई विल हैव अ सेपरेट सेशन ऑन द श्रवण कुमार थ्योरी, बट नॉट ऑन दिस वन। बच्चे इसलिए पैदा नहीं हुए कि वो आपके सपने साकार करें, बच्चे इसलिए पैदा हुए हैं कि आप उनके सपनों में हेल्प करो। एंड ऑफ डिस्कशन। कार्ल जंग ने बोला था, the biggest threat to a child is the unlived life of the parent. I think इससे बढ़िया कमेंट पेरेंटिंग पे हुआ नहीं, and that is what has been going on.
Brilliant, हाँ, unlived life.
सबको पके पकाए बीटा मेल चाहिए जो रिमोट से चल जाए, okay? So you need to tell your son कि बेटा तू IIT नहीं चाहता, I would still love you. तू IAS नहीं बनता, I would still love you. तूने कोई मेरी नाक नहीं कटा दी. I often charge against parents like a mad bull. साहब हम चाहते हैं हमारा बच्चा IAS बने. मैं कहता हूँ साहब आप कौन से जिले के कलेक्टर हैं? नहीं हमारी तो हो नहीं पाई. आपकी क्लर्क की नहीं लगी, बच्चा आपको UPSC पास चाहिए. What nonsense. होश में आओ. Okay? एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, I always tell the 3M. रूल नंबर 1, मैंने मेरे बच्चों को रूल लिस्ट दे रखी है. Mind, peace of mind, muscle, money. These 3 make a man. Peace of mind कोई दिक्कत है? How you can talk to your father about anything. I'm open to listening. उसके बाद में गाली भी दूंगा, रीजन बताऊंगा, फिर गाली दूंगा क्यों दे रहा. But listen to them. Muscle, the boys have to have muscles here. Muscular world में muscle है, देवियों और सज्जनों. मस्कुलर वर्ल्ड में IAS नहीं है, थैंक गॉड फॉर इट. सो यू नीड टू टेल हिम कि देयर आर वेज टू मेक मनी, एंड बीइंग अ मैन यू हैव टू मेक मनी. यू कैन नॉट सिट ऑन योर एस थिंकिंग कि साहब मैं तो जो है इन्फ्लुएंसर बन जाऊंगा या फिल्म स्टार बन जाऊंगा. और तुम शाहरुख खान की मासी के पुत्र नहीं हो तो कोई नहीं देने वाला तुमको ब्रेक. यू हैव टू गिव देम द हार्ड कोल्ड रियलिटी, एंड यू हैव टू टेल देम कि बेटा तू फ्रीलांसिंग कर, वीडियो एडिटिंग कर, मेरे साथ में कुछ काम कर, उनको घर के काम कराओ, पैसा दो. Men have to be comfortable with money. हमारे यहाँ पे ऐसे पेरेंट्स हैं पॉकेट मनी नहीं देते, अरे बच्चा बिगड़ जाएगा. भाई कमाने दो उसको. For a man to earn is very very important. अब 35 साल तक तो वो गवर्नमेंट जॉब की तैयारी करता, फिर कहते हैं जी बहू नहीं मिल रही. आपने तो उसकी रीढ़ की हड्डी निकाल के अपनी तिजोरी में रख ली.
I think it's true for girls also, Abhi.
Yeah.
It's important for everybody to earn their own
Yeah,
living.
pata, again, I beg to differ. A girl sitting at home will always find a groom. A groom who will finance her. लेकिन a boy sitting at home will never find a bride. उसकी माँ भी उसको ताना देगी, बाप भी गाली देगा, और समाज कहेगा लो जी घर बैठ गया. He doesn't have the option to cop out. Yeah, let's not get woke about this. Women career is an option. Men career is a bloody compulsion. So ensure your child knows how to make money, how to handle money if it's a boy.
बहुत छोटी सी बात सर, आपको थोड़ा सा आपका फ्लो तोड़ूंगा. आप इसी बात पे, ये है कि होता क्या है कि हिंदुस्तान में हम लोग, मैं खास करके, वैसे तो हम लोग पंजाबी हैं, तो हम लोग के अंदर ना रिबेलियन अगेंस्ट द फादर बहुत नेचुरल होती है, तो फादर विलेन बहुत इजीली बन जाता है। लेकिन मदर और उसकी जो उसकी वायलेंस है, इसके बारे में कभी बात नहीं हो सकती। इट इज द मोस्ट हश थिंग। मदर को कोई बुरा कह ही नहीं सकता,
Why, if
बिकॉज
you
उसके पास विक्टिम कार्ड पहले से ही है। सॉरी टू यूज, बस क्या करें। और वो विक्टिम कार्ड के चक्कर में आप अपनी माँ से विद्रोह नहीं कर सकते, और जब तक अपनी माँ से विद्रोह नहीं करोगे, आप अपनी बीवी, अपनी गर्लफ्रेंड के साथ अच्छे रिश्ते नहीं बना सकते। सिंपल, इतनी सी
मेरी
बात।
किताब का एक चैप्टर है ब्रेकिंग द पेडेस्टल, उसमें नंबर 1 है माताएं, उनको पेडेस्टल से कैसे नीचे उतारना, दैट्स नेसेसरी। ओके,
तुरंत उतारिए, तुरंत बराबर में लाइए।
सर वो भी ह्यूमन है भाई, माँ भी ह्यूमन है, उसके अपने कुछ कंपल्शन है, उसकी अपनी सोच है। नॉट एवरीबडी इज अ जीनियस। फोक्स, कट आउट बॉलीवुड। ओके, बॉलीवुड विल गिव यू क्रेजी एस सन्स. It will give you either the toxic sigma male wannabe types, or it will give you that wimpy types. Okay, वो जो impossible standards set किए हुए हैं, they come from Bollywood कि साहब वो लड़का है, वो सब चीज़ों में अच्छा है, वो क्लास का भी टॉपर है, वो मम्मी का भी दुलारा है। सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये है द वेरी रॉन्ग डेफिनेशन ऑफ रोमांसेस दैट दीज पीपल गिव कि साहब प्यार एक ही बार होता है। यू नो, यू सी ऑल दोस बॉयज विद देयर हैंग अप अबाउट देयर मे बी क्लास 12th वाला गर्लफ्रेंड और समथिंग, तो यू टेल देम कि भैया इनकी रियलिटी अलग है, ये बच्चे इनको देख देख के पागल होते रहते हैं। यू नो, डर का शाहरुख खान टाइप्स, ये कौन सिखा रहा है भाई? ये बॉलीवुड सिखा रहा है। दैट्स रियली बैड। यू शुड टीच अ बॉय टू टेक नो। वो 90s में फिल्में बनती थी ना कि लड़का उसको हैरास कर रहा है और लड़की उसके साथ रोमांस के लिए राजी हो जाती। ये एज अ रिजल्ट आपके लोगों को इंटरनेट मिला, उन्होंने जो है वो वेस्ट की लड़कियों के डीएम को फ्लड कर दिया सिंपिंग मैसेज भेज भेज के। दिस इज व्हाट दीज fiends have done to our boys.
Sir, it's not just Bollywood, sir. It's Hollywood also. ये 50 Shades of Grey देख लीजिए.
नहीं, शेड्स ऑफ ग्रे इज मोर ऑफ अ लेडीज का फैंटेसी. I am yet to see a man who likes 50 Shades of Grey and yet to see a woman who hates it. It taps into that impractical feminine fantasy, but that's a discussion from some other day.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
Yeah. And one solution I have open discussions, and the panacea of their attention span is reading. Yeah. So that is something which has helped me a lot, and I think you can try this with your children. It definitely would help their intellectual growth. सबसे बड़ी बात उनका attention span और reading ability बढ़ेगी. So give them the gift of reading. That's the biggest advice which I can give. Basically, Tushar talked about 4 kinds of parents. I will talk about 2 kinds of parents, the gardeners or carpenters. Gardener ये कहता है कि साहब गुलाब का फूल है तो गुलाब जैसे खिले, मोगरे का फूल है तो मोगरे जैसे खिले। कारपेंटर कहता है तू क्या करेगा मुझे नहीं पता, मैं बनाऊंगा तेरे को, भले से ठोक पीट के कीले ठोकनी पड़े तेरे में. एंड दैट इज वेयर 80% ऑफ इंडियन पेरेंटिंग कम्स फ्रॉम. Another story I'll tell you, one of my clients from MP, I cannot take names, of course, client confidentiality होती है. उसके पिताजी ने भी बंदूक दिखा के उसको इंजीनियर बना दिया. इंडिया में पहले सबको इंजीनियर बना दो, बंदा बनाओ ना बनाओ, इंजीनियर बना दो सबको. And he kept failing, and he was marked as a duffer and a failure and mandabuddhi and all that. Then he rebelled, took arts, not even commerce, took arts. और वो लड़का यूनिवर्सिटी का गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट है इंग्लिश लिटरेचर में. So you put the wrong guy in the wrong thing. आप मगरमच्छ को कहते हो उड़ के दिखा. That is where people like me and Rahul Zaveri come in. उसका एक बार talent assessment, उसका indication देखो, उसका talent देखो. No matter how hard you try, you cannot grow oranges on a mango tree. Hard work is the key to failure. Okay. You should be a gardener, you should not be a carpenter parent. Okay, this is the time to break the generational curse. Now, since I am an astrologer, I have to tell this. If your child is born with Shani in the 9th, the father must not interfere in his life. Shani is the indicator of the worst kind of relationship that you can have. Ninth house Shani will give you the worst father. Fourth house Shani will give you the worst mother. The problem is ये बच्चे शनि के खाने का approval चाहते हैं. So ninth house Shani person will do almost anything to try to please the father. वो फिर नहीं हो पाता. Fourth house Shani will do anything to please the mother and the original family. वो नहीं हो पाएगा. They will suffer until unless they rebel. Ninth house Shani is still able to rebel. Fourth house Shani को तो मैंने बर्बाद होते देखा. Best combos: Venus and Jupiter, the usual suspects in good things. Venus in the ninth, I have seen excellent fathers. Excellent fathers. Vishal had a lovely father. I think he has a Venus in the ninth. Jupiter in the ninth, for some reason, doesn't work that well. Maybe a Karak Bhavanasya or whatever. I'm still doing my research. I don't have an answer why. Jupiter daddies don't make great daddies until unless it's an exalted Jupiter or a same sign Jupiter. Jupiter mothers do an awesome job. Fourth house Jupiter, people swear by their mothers. Fourth house Venus, mixed bag. So parents, your children don't exist to fulfill your dream. Get out of Bhagwan Karoop complex. Accept the child. He can be average at studies and still can live. Know the child. वो कहते हैं ना, and the truth shall set you free. Know the truth about yourself and the child. Take some counseling. Use you can also use astrology and counseling. Don't use just one. कि हमारे पंडित जी ने कहा था जी इसकी सरकारी नौकरी लगेगी. That's another scam that we have. So understand the child. उसके talent क्या है. Try to be a gardener parent. Don't be a carpenter parent.
सर ये know your children तो KYC हो गया.
Yes, very good. Good observation. So ये बच्चों के लिए था, but I think we will take this some other day. We are running out of time already. So we'll have a बच्चे वाला discussion some other day, or maybe I'll do a monologue. This is
Okay.
So thank you everybody. Lovely, lovely, lovely session. I thoroughly enjoyed. Tushar, you almost made me cry. So, we will have more such sessions. We'll try to include more people. So happy to have such a lovely panel to discuss these things. So happy to have such great friends. Excellent. Thank you so much. आज नवरात्रि के दिन. May the mother divine guide us all, bless us all. Thank you everyone. God bless. Bye bye.
Thank you.